One more very special guest speech maker. At one point in his career, he was a speech writer and advisor to the then Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Malcolm Fraser. He was an Australian rugby union, a very successful Australian rugby union coach. He is one of Australia's most gifted public speakers, but those of you in the room know him best for his work as a broadcaster. His radio program on 2GB is consistently #1, and this year, of course, marks his silver jubilee in radio broadcasting. A man of incredible conviction and commitment to the issues that matter the most to those of you in the room. I think it is wonderful that this man is here this evening to spare some of his time and to, I guess, get behind this great initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Alan Jones.
Well, I think you're all unbelievable. I do. I think it's unbelievable. I mean, it's one thing to tell a message, offer a message, but to be as creative as you've all been and then to understand the message. I think you'd join with me, though, in congratulating Ian and his team, Ian Luff and Warren and the whole team, who've just done a wonderful job. It's very difficult for you young people to listen to us old people talking to you, because there is a tendency for people to preach to young people and they tune out. I thought what was wonderful about the courses that I saw on the television was that they were very activity oriented and they were very enjoyable. There was a lot of fun. And people, oddly enough, do learn much better when they're part of the process and are enjoying what they're doing. It's not really for us to be preaching to you, but I think we do present to you a tremendous range of experiences in which we know that the opportunities that are available to you through this kind of program weren't available to us. I thought one of the most persistent messages tonight that you clearly understand is that you have an obligation to others on the road. I think that's a very hard message to get through, that people actually think that they own the place and that when they go out there, the seas must part so that whatever you want to do can be done. And unfortunately, that leads to so many tragedies. And I know one of the presenters here in one of the segments from the schools talked about hundreds of people being affected by the death of one person. And Peter made the point, I think, or was it Warren? I think it was Warren who said that there were 3 kids that he was at school with and they're no longer with us. It's quite horrific. I played in a rugby team at school, and I was a boarder, and Ross Trevathan was a day boy, and we were really good mates. And I can see him now. He'd come every morning and we'd meet outside the tuck shop at boarding school, and he had the ruler. He had his bag and he'd be always hitting the side of his leg with a ruler, and his mother always made me a sandwich. And I couldn't, because I was a boarder and you're starved, and Mum would bring a sandwich and give it to you and you felt it was terrific. And I couldn't come to grips with the fact that before school was ended, he was dead in an accident, because as day boys, they had cars, but he was an innocent victim. He was killed by someone else being stupid on the road. And I suppose when you get to our age, you look back on all of those experiences and you remember the sense of loss that has overtaken you. And in many ways, while Ian and his team have made this very interesting to you, and you've gone into the detail, and it's clear from those presentations that you've absorbed that detail, I think the beautiful sentiment to emerge out of it all is that it's not really rocket science. And in all those presentations, so creative, I don't know how you do all that stuff. The videos, the pictures, the rap music, you're a really talented, and I want to say that to you, look, the thing that really irritates me about the media, I have to tell you, is this persistent attack on P-plate drivers. And I'm sure that irritates you as well. And what it does is it generalises in an extravagant way, which makes young people feel as though they're the cause of all problems, and they're not. But at the same time, it's their inexperience, their lack of knowledge, their unfamiliarity with a vehicle, their incapacity to handle speed, their inability to have the experiences to respond to circumstances which change very quickly. All of those things conspire to make it harder for you. I mean, I was a kid, my My parents were in Western Queensland, we were on a farm, and so really I think I was driving a car at 8 or 9 or whatever. You did that. And we got the utility around the paddock and you rounded up cattle and so on. So by the time I suppose I got to 15 or 16 or whatever, this was no novelty to us. Unfortunately, young people in the city don't have those sorts of experiences, and there is a novelty about a vehicle. And one of the presentations there tonight, Kenny it was. I mean, well done, Kenny. You got the girl in the end anyway, and that's all that mattered. But I thought that highlighted Kenny's story. This is what you do. There's the girl and there's the classroom, and he never understood the plumb bob and he went to sleep. All he wanted to do was to get into his parents' car. And there is that fascination. And I think that what you've got to do now, if I could challenge you, is that the biggest problem you'll face, and every one of the finalists here tonight presented that to us, the biggest problem above all others, the technical problem, the smart, you've got the word that Ian has given to you, and the seeing, the S is for the seeing, and yes, if you don't watch the ball, you drop it in cricket. If you don't watch the ball in tennis, you'll hit into the net. You've got to be alert, and the motivation and so on. All those things, and the attitude and the technique. But look, it is peer group. Even at our age, peer group is a big thing. People have egos. They're constantly trying to outdo one another. They're constantly trying to appear better. You know that you go to a party or a dinner party and one person wants to talk above everybody else to try and highlight to everyone around that I'm smarter and I know more and I'm familiar and I've met all of these people. Peer group pressure is a really difficult thing to deal with. Everyone wants to be thought of well. You stand outside the mainstream of the group, 5 or 6, and it's tough stuff. I relate that to other experiences, as I think you just heard. I mean, I coached Australia in rugby, and one of the problems that you have with young people is that they're frightened to admit that they want to be the best. And one of the reasons, just going away from here for a minute, one of the reasons they have that problem is that someone will call them a concho, or they'll say you're sucking up to the teacher. Or if you had a problem, for example, with your cover drive and you go to the coach and say, or girls playing netball and it's the long shot in the basket, get the coach to show me. No, I won't ask the coach for that because someone will think I'm trying to get preferential treatment in the team. And so the real sense out there is that peer group can be very damaging to young people, not just in this environment, but even in the academic environment. You know when someone says to you, did you do any study at the weekend? Your immediate answer not is, oh yes, I did 8 hours, which in fact you did because you were terrified about failing. Oh, not much. No, I did a bit. You don't let on. You're frightened to admit that you want to be good. School is about teaching young people that in the world there is good and evil. And we're not Mother Teresa's, but we'll try and we'll learn how to choose good. School's about saying to people through their literature, whether it's Hamlet or King Lear, whether it's Shakespeare or Jane Austen, it teaches us that there's right and wrong out there. Hard, as we saw here, the choices are hard, but we hope that your education helps you to choose what's right. And in the course that you've had here, that's what it's about. They're not soft choices, they're not hard. But because you've done all this together, and because you do understand the message, and because there is a value system at work, and because we don't own the roads, we have to drive in respect of those others that are on the roads as well, then at the end of the day, it's a message that's worth sharing with as many people as we can. I just want to congratulate you all. You've done brilliantly. I often say to young people, you haven't done well, and they look at me. No, I said, you haven't done well, you've done brilliantly. I can't believe the creativity of what we've seen there tonight, the passion with which it's presented, the urgency of the message, and the clarity of the message. Terrific stuff. And to those who've been responsible for all of this, brilliantly done.